What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Spectator Mode Podcast. And as you can see, I'm currently by myself because we had some technical issues on Saturday, so we couldn't record the podcast. And obviously, we couldn't do it on Sunday because it was time for some good old-fashioned football. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Good game. So I'm doing a much shorter podcast today. Obviously, other guys are at work or doing their own thing, so they can't be here. We will return to our normally scheduled podcast this upcoming weekend. However, there were a couple topics that were talked about this week or made known in the gaming industry this weekend. I wanted to talk about them, those being the Nintendo Switch and, of course, Google Stadia. Obviously, Stadia is going to be at the end because I have a lot to say about it. So, going back to Nintendo Switch, there was a lot of rumors coming out beginning of this year, and I want to say towards the middle of last year, where there were rumblings that a new Nintendo Switch is going to come out. Now, we heard about those earlier last year, and we didn't really get a new Nintendo Switch. What we got was a updated version with better battery life, and not the Switch Pro everybody was assuming we were going to get, which is going to give us better hardware, a better chipset, and basically a more powerful Switch. That never panned out. So the rumor started out again this year that we were going to get the same Switch Pro, 60 frames per second, possible 4K, and there were a couple renders that were making the rounds on the internet, and in the back of my head, and I've said this in a couple articles, that there's no way in heck that Nintendo is going to release a Switch Pro. The original Switch right now is doing great, and if they were going to do a Switch Pro, it wouldn't be in 2020 where the hardware of the Switch is just going bonkers. It's amazing. So Nintendo finally came out and said, hey, look, we're not going to bring out a new Nintendo Switch this year. Switch is doing great. Our partners are happy. We see no reason to do this. However, they did not dismiss that maybe in 2021 that we might see a new Switch. And granted, at that time, we may be ready for a new Nintendo Switch or whatever Nintendo calls the new system after the Switch. But for right now, Nintendo is pretty much saying, if you want a new Switch, you're not working on one, please stop asking us, enjoy the Switch or the Switch Lite, and play some Nintendo games, which I'm with Nintendo. There is no reason to bring out a Switch Pro as much as people want them. The original Switch is doing great. It's not the most powerful system, yes, but its hybrid nature makes it one of the best gaming experiences. You can play in your house, you can play it docked to a TV, you can play in your living room, you can take it on the go. I don't use my Switch that much, especially right now since in the Nintendo's headquarters New York getting fixed right now. I don't have a Switch to play, but when I did go to events and when I did go to my friends' houses or my family houses, or I was in the store waiting for my wife to finish shopping, I had my Switch and I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to getting it back. Hopefully it is the same Switch and I don't have to lose any of my games. But as far as Nintendo stands, I agree with them. There is no reason for a new Switch. And when we do see a new platform from Nintendo, a new console, maybe this Switch Pro in the future, yes, I would like to have a system that does 60 frames per second, 1080 60 frames per second. Nintendo Switch or whatever the heck this thing is going to be in the future does not need 4K gaming. I mean, let's be honest, guys. 4K gaming is nice, but even the PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X can't really give us reliable gaming at 60 frames per second. I'm just saying how it is. So for you to expect Nintendo to do this, especially a company who is not in direct competition with Sony or Microsoft, is it's a reach. It's a reach about that. I'll leave it at that. So I don't expect to hear anything about Nintendo about a new system anytime soon. Of course, obviously, if we do here on the Outerhaven and at the Spectator Mode Podcast and even the Nintendo Entertainment Podcast, our podcast from our Nintendo guys, we'll be talking about it. But there is none right now, so we're not going to talk about it. So that's it. All right. So I have to talk about Stadia. And before I talk about this, I will say it again. I did have the Google Stadia Founders Edition. I did pre-order it the second it was available. I did do a review of it over at theouterhaven.net. I gave it a fair shake. I enjoyed what it was, but was overly disappointed with the lack of games, the fact that it was missing a lot of features, and that Google didn't really seem to be 100% behind this service. Like, you can't call it a console. It's not a console. It's a platform. It's a service. We'll leave it at that, with a horrible model. Okay. So fast forward to today. I don't have it anymore. I sent it back. I was not paying $150 to be a beta tester. That's what I felt like. I felt like an over-glorified beta tester with Stadia Pro, and I wasn't doing it. Now it seems like everybody else who stayed aboard with the Founder Edition and the Premier Edition are also feeling the same way, because it's been a while since it's been a while since Google has said anything about Stadia. We haven't heard about any new games. You know, the console, the service has been out for about 70 days, 74, 75 days now. Okay, it's been a while. It's almost been 3 months since Stadia has been released, and so far the company hasn't delivered on all of its promises. You know, they did fix some of them, but there are a lot of pain points right now. You can't play it on iOS. You can't play it on any other Android phones outside of the Google Pixel phones. I believe you still need a USB cable to play it. I may be incorrect for the controller. There's no family sharing. That's a big point. Even Nintendo has family sharing with the Nintendo Online. You can share with Xbox One. You can share with PlayStation 4. You can share with Steam. You can share pretty much any gaming service / platform right now. So that is a big deal. They haven't said anything about the free tier of Stadia Base or Stadia Free, whatever you want to call it. They mentioned there's going to be 120 games released in 2020, but they haven't talked about those games. Going even further than that, they also stated that they don't think it's their responsibility to update us on the games that are coming out for the platform, and feel that it's the responsibility of the publishers. I'm sorry. Wait a second. Stop. Full pause on that. When Microsoft has a big game coming out for the platform, when Sony has a big game coming out for the platform, when Nintendo has a big game coming out for the platform, either if it's by Nintendo, published by Nintendo, wherever, they talk about it. They release videos. You hear about it on Reddit, on Twitter, on popular internet forums. You know the game is coming out. It's this is the same thing that Google is saying that it's not our responsibility. What? When God of War is being worked on, Sony made it their mission to let everybody know that, hey, this game is coming out for the PlayStation 4, exclusively for the PlayStation 4, and this is why you should buy it. Microsoft did the same thing with their third-party games, or even their first-party games. So for Google to come out and say, hey, we don't think it's our responsibility, and it's up to the responsibility of the publishers, that's just bizarre, because it's not how things are done anymore. It's not how we see games pitched in a traditional sense anymore. It's really weird, and it's a bad stance. It's a bad stance that I think that they're taking. And honestly, this only goes to show you that perhaps Google isn't 100% on board with Stadia. And I'm not here to downplay Stadia. I'm not here to say anything negative about the service that I already have, because I've said it in my review and I've said it multiple times. I think the technology is in a good place. I think they have a good idea. It hasn't been implemented as good as it should be. In fact, it has been implemented rather poorly. There are so many issues that are going wrong with the service. And if they just showed some transparency and say, hey, you know, we haven't delivered, we're working on it, we're sorry, you know, something, save face, damage control, do something. But they haven't done any of that. And that's frustrating, especially for the people who are like, right now, are on the fence if they should continue their Stadia Pro, because that's coming up for renewal very soon. We only had 3 months of Stadia Pro free. After that, it was like $39.99, so $40. And the question is now, we don't know what games are coming up for this system. We don't know if you're going to enable us to play on any other Android phones other than the Pixel phones. We don't know if it's coming to iOS. There's a lot of issues that Google is not talking about. So for a lot of people, it's going to be a big decision when it comes to renewal if they're going to renew Google Stadia Pro. At the same time, it's also a gotcha, because if you don't continue Stadia Pro, you lose access to the games that are in the Pro. Those free games that they give you with the service, well, technically they're not free because you're paying for a service, but people still call those free. I don't know where Google is going with this, but the problem that I'm seeing and everybody else is seeing is the company is very notorious for bringing out something and quickly dropping it, discontinue it, or canceling it. And people are now worried that this is exactly what Google is going to do for Stadia. I don't think that they're going to. I think they're committed for the long haul, but this is their first entry into gaming, and I don't think the company knows what they should be doing. But to counter the argument, they've got so many people from the industry on their side. They can look at what Microsoft's doing, look at what Nintendo did, look what Sony's doing. They can easily emulate that, but they're choosing not to. And the fact that you're even pissing off your loyal Stadia fans. I mean, the Stadia subreddit are full of people that are majorly pissed off right now. And for good point. They should be upset. They weren't given a product that they were promised. It's half-baked. It doesn't do what it needs to do. It doesn't do what they promised it would do. And I'm frustrated with it. And I don't even own it anymore. There is zero reason right now to own Stadia unless you really are buying into the service. Pretty much it. There's not one game on Google Stadia that I want to play right now. Not a one. Compound that Doom Eternal got delayed. Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed, which were going to be big games for Stadia. Those games are delayed. Doom will be coming out in March finally, but it might be too late. Destiny 2 is dying on Stadia. There's not a lot of people playing, and the numbers constantly keep dropping. I keep checking Charlemagne to see, and they're like, nope, it's dropping. It's not a good look for Stadia right now. I don't know what Google's going to do. It's really sad because, again, I think the technology is great. But when you look at the cloud service gaming right now, or cloud gaming services, look at what Microsoft's doing with Project X Cloud. They're running circles around Stadia because the business model is there. You have access to all these Xbox 360 and Xbox One games on Project X Cloud. They're not promising you anything like 4K, 720p, which is fine. It works fine out the house. It works fine in the house. You have access to a library of games that you already own. You don't have to pay extra for it. And we don't know how Microsoft Xbox is going to expand that service when it comes out. I mean, right now it's in beta. Not everybody has access to it, but everybody that has played it has had nothing but great things to say about it. I have access to the beta, and I enjoy it. I'm really enjoying it, and they're constantly adding new games to it. Where you look at where Google Stadia is right now, and it's like, Microsoft is doing this. What exactly are you doing right now, Google? I don't understand it. And I said at the beginning of this podcast, I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but I don't know what's going on here. I don't see where Google is making any ground. They're constantly making enemies. They're constantly doing the wrong thing, and I don't get it. And then don't even get me started with their service model. It's ridiculous. They're better off letting you rent a game versus giving you access to this pro model and charge you this X amount of money a month. Let me pay for the games that I want. Let me pay $5 a month for Destiny 2 or whatever, and when I'm done playing them, I don't have to rent them anymore. I don't get it. I really want them to succeed. I really do. As Google as a service, as being an alternative to owning an actual console, to actually owning a PC, to take a Google Chromecast Ultra, plug it up to a TV on the go, assuming you have the broadband, it's a great idea. But for what it is right now, it ain't working. And for what Microsoft is doing with Project X Cloud, it is working. And I can use any Android phone. Well, as long as you can run Android 6. Yeah, you can't use iOS right now, but they did say iOS support is coming later. Google isn't saying anything. At least Microsoft is being transparent about this. Google's like, yeah, it's coming whenever it comes. And that's exactly why I canceled my Stadia Pro. Exactly why I sent back the controller, the Stadia Founder Edition. I wanted to keep the controller, but there was no way in hell I was paying $150 to be a beta tester. Now, I did say that I would come back and give Google Stadia a chance when the free version comes out, but we don't know anything about it. We don't even know if it's coming out still. It's going to be weird. And newsflash, Daemon X Machina is coming out for the PC. So a little bit of news right there in the podcast. Anyway, again, sorry to beat a dead horse, but I would love to know what you think about Nintendo saying there's no new Switch Pro coming out this year. And also, what you think about Google Stadia, the lack of keeping promises, the lack of games, and the status of that service. Let me know below in the comments. And if you're listening to Audioboom or Spotify or Google or iTunes, come to the Outerhaven, leave a comment on the website. I would love to know what you think. And if you're watching on YouTube and you like the video and you want to help a small channel get bigger, hit the subscription button. And if you are subscribed, hit the notification bell. All right. This has been Keith from Outerhaven. And like I said, Spectator Mode will come back to its normal operating capacity this upcoming weekend. All right. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll talk to you all later. Take it easy.